Hello, I'm Westchester County Legislator. I represent New Rochelle and Pelham on the Westchester County Board of Legislators, and this is my cable TV show, the Good Government Forum. I'm happy to report to you that on January 6, 2014, I was elected to be the Vice Chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, which is bringing new challenges and new opportunities in the leadership of the Board of Legislators, and does position me to do more to help our great city of New Rochelle. Today, on my cable TV show, we're going to continue interviewing leaders and movers and shakers in the community. And today we have a special guest, one of the members of the New Rochelle City Council. It's Ivar Hyden, who represents City Council District 3. Welcome, Ivar.
Hi, Jim. It's actually 4.
Oh, I said 3.
District 4.
I had it perfect up to that point.
You did,
the opening.
actually.
I hit it. Okay, so District 4.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. It's very nice, very generous of you to have me, and I appreciate it very much.
It's great to have you. We've worked well together since you've been a city councilman. Both of us, I think, are elected officials that are really seeking kind of an independent voice, working together in a bipartisan way to move New Rochelle forward. I've appreciated working with you in that way and look forward to work with you in the future.
Thank you, Jim. I feel the same way. I do. And I think that's very important, especially at the local government level, that we have this kind of bipartisan ecumenical spirit about working together, because after all, we deal with the issues of everyday issues in our neighborhoods that are important to people, and they're not necessarily the same thing as national issues. So they're things that you and I can work together on, and all of our constituents basically have the same feeling about. So I'm very encouraged by that, and I'm encouraged by the whole spirit of bipartisanship that you brought to the county legislator, as a county legislator, to the board.
Well, it's an exciting time. We were able to put together a bipartisan coalition to elect the leadership of the Board of Legislators. We have a Republican chair, a Democrat chair, Republican vice chair. Every legislator is either in the leadership or committee chair, chairing a committee, so everyone feels like they're part of the leadership team. Mm-hmm. All the committees are balanced between Democrats and Republicans, forcing them to seek compromise and consensus. So my legislator, Michael Kaplowitz, who grew up in New Rochelle, by the way, is now the chair of the Board of Legislators, and I'm the vice chair, and we are very excited about kind of ensuring that the county legislature speaks in a bipartisan voice.
Right. Well, I think that's great. I think it's appropriate.
Thanks. We appreciate it. And I was going to quote your, when you're talking earlier about working for the city of New Rochelle in a bipartisan way, the great New York City Mayor LaGuardia used to say, "There's no Democrat or Republican way to pick up the garbage." Exactly,
and that's true, and that's exactly the kind of issue that we have to work with on a daily basis, and snow removal, as you know, has been a big issue the last couple of weeks, and that's a big problem, a big issue for us, since we're very lean. The city of New Rochelle is actually quite lean in terms of its budget and personnel, so that's a serious issue, and there are lots of other day-to-day issues that we have to deal with, police, fire, all those other kinds of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, before we get into issues, let's do a little bit background on you.
Sure.
Where are you from?
Actually, I was born in New York City, in Manhattan, Swedish immigrant parents, and didn't move up to Westchester until I was about 26, 27 years old. Very much liked being up here. I actually was living in the Yonkers section of Bronxville, in Bronxville, PO, but it's Yonkers section for a while. Moved to Larchmont after a number of years with my wife, and then ultimately moved to New Rochelle. Yeah. So, and actually I have to say that I feel more comfortable in New Rochelle than I have in any of the other places I've lived in the suburbs.
It's a great community.
And it's, I mean, a lot of people mention the diversity all the time, but it certainly is true. It's something I've very much enjoyed. And in my neighborhood of Glenwood Lake, which is a very interesting and very progressive area, I feel right at home. There are a lot of artists and writers, business people, all different shapes and sizes, and it's really a lovely neighborhood. It's a great place to be. One thing about New Rochelle's diversity is not only do we have a diverse community, but we get along well. Yeah, I think for the most part, you're right.
Yeah, I think we're a city there where everybody seems to always come together whenever it matters. We in our schools, in our community groups, they're diverse. And people really seem to put the city first, and I think that's a great spirit for New Rochelle. Yeah, that's absolutely true, and that's one of the things that I really like about the city, and also the fact that we're obviously a half an hour from Manhattan, which is a blessing and a curse, and
the downtown, which was so vibrant many years ago, is a focus of mine because my council district runs all the way from Mayflower all the way down to Shore Road, but the heart of it is the heart of the business district in the downtown.
Sure.
And that's something that I would work very hard at to try to revive, try to bring that same kind of spirit back to the downtown that we once had here in New Rochelle.
Great. Well, that's a great segue. Okay, so you moved to Glenwood Lake, you love the community, and you are a New Rochelle business person. Why don't you talk about your business?
No, that's true. I've had a business in New Rochelle for over 25 years, as a matter of fact. And initially I had a metal casting factory in New Rochelle. That went the way of a lot of manufacturing businesses in this country, unfortunately, over a period of years because of competition from imports and that kind of thing. So now I have a art gallery and picture framing business in the downtown on Lawton Street, opposite the library. And that business has been there now about 9 or 10 years, I would say. And I'm a working artist myself, have been my whole life. So this is kind of an offshoot of that. All of these things are kind of
Sure. So tell the name of your business and the
It's
address.
called Backstreet Gallery. It's at 43 Lawton Street. And we've been in that location now about 8 years. But it's something as I say, I've always been in the arts, involved in the arts my whole life. And this is kind of a way to earn a buck while you're trying to do the artistic things that your heart really wants you to do.
So that's great. Now, how's the business doing?
Struggling, like a lot of small business, I think, in this economy. It's better than it was a couple of years ago. But I think like a lot of small businesses, especially retail businesses, it's a difficult time.
Sure.
And which is a good segue into some of the things that we need to do to improve the downtown of New Rochelle, as a matter of fact. And I happen to be one of those people, although I agree with certain with people who are concerned about density issues. My own personal experience with my own business is that we need more residential density in the immediate area around the transit center in order to provide enough people with disposable income to patronize the kinds of businesses that we'd all like to have in the downtown. And that's one of the problems that we have right now. That and the internet.
So being a downtown business person, was that something that sparked you to get involved in public life and run for office?
Yes, well, that and living in the city. You know, the curious thing is actually I was disappointed, I suppose, is the nicest way I can put it, with the representation that I had in my district over a long period of time. Not just one particular council person, but a series of council people. And I never was involved in politics really my whole life. I mean, I paid attention to it, but never was particularly involved in it. And finally I decided it's about 4 years ago now that I guess I felt I could at least bring something to the table that other people weren't bringing, that I did have a business in the downtown, that I did reside in a residential neighborhood. I knew a lot of the people in my neighbors. I was very active in my community organization and also active as chairman of the Municipal Arts Commission here in Rochelle, and decided, why not? I mean, this is something I'd never thought about, but rather than just complain about things, I thought it'd be a good idea to try to do something about it. So
That's great.
So decided, okay, I'm going to give it a shot and run. And I had a tremendous amount to learn. And after having served now for 2 years, I still have a tremendous amount to learn. But it's been a wonderful experience, and it's something that I'm very happy and proud to have done, as a matter of fact. So for me, this is a whole new chapter
Great.
in my life, as a matter.
Great.
So.
Well, you know, I have found in my county legislature experience that the very best legislators are often ones that are citizen legislators, that they live in the community, but they work in the community, in the private sector, and they bring those life experiences to the Board of Legislators. Some of our best members on the Democrat and Republican side in my 16 years were people who were citizen legislators, people that worked in the community, had different kind of talents, and then they brought those talents to the Board of Legislators, and we benefited from those talents.
Well, I could see that, as a matter of fact, I think with my own experience, because living and working in a district every day and experiencing the issues that a small businessman has to face, and dealing with all of the routine things, like the garbage isn't picked up, or the snow isn't shoveled, or we don't have enough police taking care of the downtown, and all these other things. These are issues that are very important, and unless you live them, it's really hard to understand. and understand how they work in the nuanced ways that these issues. I mean, it's very easy to say, we need more police, but you have to understand why and how and what actually needs to be done on a very detailed level. And being there is very important, I think.
Sure.
So
I like your arts background. That's neat.
Thank you.
I have been very active on the Board of Legislators in making sure the Westchester Arts Council is properly funded. I've been a strong advocate for that. And this year, actually, I pushed legislation through during the budget where we have challenge grants. We put a large amount of money in the county budget. And the great thing about challenge grants is it challenges the private sector to match the governmental money. So at the end of the day, whatever we put in as a Board of Legislators was about $250,000, will now be $500,000 at the end of the day.
That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that, actually. I didn't know that you had pushed that hard on that. That's very important. And the Westchester Arts Council is a very remarkable organization. Janet Langston, who's run it for a long time, is a friend, and she is a terrific person and really, really good at what she does.
A great advocate.
Yep.
I'll tell you why she's
Tremendous
a great advocate.
Yep.
I have seen advocates come to the Board of Legislators to lobby us. And either side doesn't matter. They have a bias. Janet's only bias is getting better funding for the arts.
Exactly, that's right.
She'll work with anyone as long as they're moving the arts agenda forward.
She worked closely with Andy Spano, and I know she's working very closely with Rob Estorino.
Absolutely. She does a terrific, she's a great advocate.
Yep,
she really is.
She is, and very, very smart, capable person.
Yeah, we work closely together, and I always joke, as soon as she comes to see me every year to advocate for arts funding, my first question always is, how much is going into New Rochelle? I push very hard to make it, and she knows that, which I think helps New Rochelle when the applications come through.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, we just did a project on the back side of the library, on the Memorial Avenue side. There are 3 beautiful new murals that were put up on the back side of the library, designed by Dale Zoitlin, who's a New Rochelle artist, and funded in part by the Westchester Council on the Arts, and Janet was there for the opening and all that. And so that is one of those projects. Obviously, we need those things. Those things create a kind of sensibility about the city, especially about the downtown, I think, that gives people hope and also makes the whole milieu much more attractive, makes you want to come downtown, you feel like people care about the city, that things are happening. And I think all of that is really important, and it actually brings commerce. And I think it's one of the things that Janet has always said, is that for every dollar that's spent in the arts generates something like $8 in return to a community.
Sure.
And these are very important things for people to understand, because as an artist, you always hear this stuff about, artists, what do they know? They're not business people, they don't understand economics. But the reality is the arts are very important to bringing revenue to a municipality.
Absolutely.
So,
and while you enjoy working with the Westchester Arts Council, I also enjoy working with the New Rochelle Arts Council. Great bunch of people. They work very hard.
Yep.
I'm very impressed with them. The New Rochelle Arts Fest, we were talking about before the show started. My son and I have attended the last few years together.
Yep.
It's a great experience, and I'm so happy they brought that tradition back to New Rochelle.
Well, that's a lot of fun. I've been on the board of the Arts Council in New Rochelle for a long time, and I'm now on the advisory board. I'm not allowed to sit on the board any longer as a councilman, but and as chair of the Municipal Arts Commission, which is a different organization, which is responsible for public art in the city of New Rochelle. And both organizations have done a terrific job. One of the things that I think, there are actually 3, and I should mention the third, which is the New Rochelle Art Association, which is the pro-am group of people that are artists that have shows periodically at the library, and now they have shows downtown, also downtown New York City. Jesse Sanchez is the current president of that, and he's done a tremendous job with that organization, and that's grown a lot. Judy Weber did a wonderful job with the Arts Council. Teresa Kump-Leghorn is now the new president, and I'm sure she'll also do a wonderful job. She's a very capable person. And, we have a long tradition here. When we did a little survey a few years ago, there were over 200 arts professionals living in the city of New Rochelle, and that included writers and musicians and other people.
That's a great scoop.
But it was a surprising number of people. We actually created a kind of a directory, and this is probably now about 8 or 9 years ago. And this is something I think we should do again, because it was very interesting to see how many professional people there were involved in the arts in the city of New Rochelle.
That's terrific.
And this is a long tradition of this.
Yeah, it's great. Well, when I was a kid, they used to have the Arts Festival in the downtown New Rochelle, and that was a lot of fun. I used to go down with my mom when I was a kid. I think that's back in the 60s and 70s.
Right, and it was, I forgot the name of what was the name of the guy who ran that?
Teddy Green.
Teddy Green, that's right. I've heard him about him over and over again. That's true, yeah, and that was great. We did do 3 shows in Library Green, 3 art shows a few years ago. The Grand Market, which is one of the things that I helped to start the last year in the downtown, which is on Saturdays.
Which is was a superstar.
Thank you.
In Denver.
Yeah, no, I feel very good about that. I was pushing for
You
that
should.
for a long time.
You should.
And that,
Everyone talks about it.
Yeah, that has an arts component now,
Right.
and that we're getting more serious about. So every Saturday there'll be an arts component as well as a music component, and this is the kind of thing that I think really helps to grow a community. It becomes, the Library Green's kind of the town square in
Sure.
a sense, and we should utilize it a little more in that regard.
I was thrilled about the Grand Market because it certainly made the Library Green Park become more alive. It is like a town square in a downtown. I don't know if you know this, but I actually voted for the funding. My first year as a county legislator, we did the legislation
Good, excellent.
to build the Library Green Park, and I voted on the funding. As a matter of fact, it was my first experiences in how sometimes things can go wrong in government. I didn't know, no one had told me, I was brand new. I was literally on the Board of Legislators for about a month. And it was the first time I was on the Budget Committee. And I didn't get a heads up from anyone that it was on the agenda. And I get a call from someone in the meeting at my law office and said, "Do you know about this park they want to build in downtown New Rochelle?" I said, "Sure, I had Library Green. It's a great proposal." "Well, right now it doesn't have the votes to pass the Budget Committee." So I literally ran out of my law office in New Rochelle, jumped into my car, drove very fast up to White Plains. I got into the meeting. I asked for an adjournment, pulled some of the no legislators outside in the hallway and kind of explained it, and was able to move a couple of people and ended up passing that day.
That's great.
That was
I'm
my
deli- I'm
impact on the
delighted.
Library Green
I'm
Park.
delighted, yeah.
As the New Rochelle, I've always been the only person that lived in New Rochelle on the county legislature. We've had other people represent parts of New Rochelle, but I've always been the New Rochelle county legislator, and it was important for me to be there.
Yeah, I'm glad you were.
I mean, I'm sure we
because
would've-
that's an important component to the
I'm sure we would have
downtown.
eventually passed it anyway. One day there was a lot of questions, but we did get it resolved. So I always have great pride when things go well in the Library Green Park.
Absolutely, no, and it's a great venue, and it is the appropriate place for a town square in the city of
And
New
the
Rochelle.
concerts are nice to have in the summer as well, and they show
We
movies
do
sometimes.
the jazz
right?
concerts. We do at least one movie
Right.
during the summer, which is cool, and it's something I would love to do more of. And
Sure.
actually, I'll pitch you for county funding. We should have one of these giant LED screens on that side of the library, so that we could have these kind of events all the time. We could run movies every Friday night in the summertime or something like
Definitely
that.
chat
Which would
about
be
that.
a wonderful idea.
Let's chat about that.
And a lot of
Offline.
libraries do that.
Yeah, we will. We'll chat about that offline.
Okay, good.
But listen, what I say about the arts is as follows. Sometimes the world can be kind of gray. The arts fills a lot of color in our everyday lives. And I feel that very strongly. I'm sure you believe the same.
I absolutely do believe that. I do. I think it's very important. It's what makes us humans a little different.
Absolutely.
And
I
I
agree.
think that's very important.
Okay, so we see about 10 minutes to go. So let's turn to the downtown.
Sure.
Everyone agrees. There's no great question here. One of the biggest issues, if not the biggest issue facing the city of New Rochelle, is our downtown revitalization. So you are a councilman, a small businessman. No one's better able to kind of go through these issues and dissect them and think about the future of the downtown than you. Where are we going with the downtown?
This is something I've been thinking about it for a very long time, I have to tell you, long before I was on council. And I really firmly believe that the downtown of New Rochelle could come back and be the kind of downtown that it was 50 years ago. Now, we're not going to have ladies in white gloves eating at Schrafft's, eating it with watercress sandwiches or something like that, because the world's completely different,
Sure.
and I understand that. But there really is an opportunity still to grow the downtown. And I think that there are several small steps and there are several big things that we need to do. I think one of the most important things that we need to do is enforce the codes that we already have in existence. We have several codes, building codes, that require people to take care of their property in terms of the signage, the awnings, the facades, the paint, the condition of the buildings, and also limit the amount of advertising and stuff that people can shove in their windows, all of those things are adjudicated by the Municipal Arts Commission, and we do have it, all of it's on the books, all of it should be enforced in a much more rigorous way than it is. And by doing that, we would then have a much more attractive downtown. It's not a big deal. I understand the city only has one code enforcement officer for all of the quality of life issues in the whole city of New Rochelle, which is really kind of unfortunate. Let's put it that way. But it's strictly a budgetary concern. Our new Commissioner of Development, Luis Aragon, who's a very interesting guy, feels strongly about this also, and as a result, for the first time, I have a lot of support inside of City Hall to change the level of importance on these kinds of issues. So we are going to be hiring somebody in May who's called a business ambassador for the downtown, and not just for the downtown, for all the business districts in the city of New Rochelle. But obviously the downtown is one of the key factors, and the north end in the Waikakill section is also very important. Union Avenue is important, also in Upper and Lower Main Street, but we want to kind of focus on that.
Sure, and North Avenue is starting to grow more of a corridor.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Of economics.
Yeah, but this business ambassador will be kind of a carrot and stick person, be able to help small business in terms of starting a small business, initiating the things that need to get done with the building department, making sure that they understand the process, helping them do that. I do that as a councilman, and I'm sure you do also. Small business people have come to me and said, look, I want to set up, I'm having a problem, I don't understand how to negotiate my way through the bureaucracy. So, well, this is, let me help you.
Happens all the time. Because I remember, I'm not only a legislator, but a lawyer.
Right.
So I get the call both ways.
Right. So this business ambassador person will be able to do that and help people with those functions, which is very important. So that's kind of the carrot. And the stick part of the job will be to go around and we'll have the ability to write code violations. Not initially, the idea is not to punish people. The idea is just to let people know what they need to do to bring their properties up to code and give them an appropriate period of time to do that, not to hurt them in any sense, but just to try to clean up the whole downtown and make it look much more attractive. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be taken care of.
I have a recommendation for you, if I can.
Of course.
One thing I have found in my travels over the last couple of years in New Rochelle is, of course, and you know this as well as I do, a growing number of business people in New Rochelle are Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And they got some unique barriers, particularly language, on understanding these code issues.
Absolutely.
And understanding. And I think maybe you might want to work in the second language issue with your downtown business
absolutely.
person.
I think that's a very, very legitimate thing to do. And, and this is also, this is an interesting part of what we're talking about, the development of the downtown. When I said we're not going to go back to Schreff's and the ladies with the white gloves, we're not, because it's a different demographic. And we have a much more diverse and mixed community now, and economically mixed also than we had back in those days that people kind of long for. But the businesses that provide services and product to that community are doing fine on Main Street. That's not a problem. The problem is that, that we need to have more diversity in the kinds of retail that are offered. And in order to do that, we need, I believe, more residential development immediately around the transit center, around what is called transit-oriented development, which we recently did a study. The city recently completed a very interesting study on TOD. And I think that's also part of the future. I'm not talking about residential development that's going to impact on existing residential communities, but directly around the train station in the downtown area, so we have sufficient density to support the kinds of retail businesses that we would like to see in the downtown.
That makes sense. And also,
I'm sorry.
I could just add one thing. What I see as well as a legislator for the last 16 years is, while the residential units around the train station is a good idea, also if we can get some commercial offices around there, because a lot of the local businesses in New Rochelle and restaurants in New Rochelle sometimes say that it's a struggle sometimes during the day.
It's very difficult. My own business, that's the case. And I think there was actually more street traffic 10 years ago than there is now. And part of it, I'm not sure, the recession certainly had a lot to do with it. A lot of smaller businesses closed. The banks cut way back. That has something to do with technology. We had a lot of banks, a lot of people working, staff in the banks. They're probably half the staff that they used to have. A lot of small offices with 3 or 4 people closed. Ones that had 12 people now have 3 or 4. So there are far fewer people on the streets during the day. And that is critical to all of the small businesses, all of the retail and all the restaurants.
I've had to work very hard to keep county offices in the downtown area.
That's right.
We had the Department of Environmental Facilities, Department of Health. There was some effort a couple of years back to pull them all out. I had to fight very hard in a bipartisan way to keep them there for this exact reason. And I hope we can get some more corporate office space moving forward.
Well, I think, part of what we need to do in New Rochelle is create an image for ourselves. And we have to decide where we want to go, who we want to be when we grow up, in a sense, and find a niche market that works for us as a city. I mean, other cities are able to do this, other edge cities. Maybe it's healthcare with Montefiore coming in. We might be able to spin that off into some other areas. Maybe it's technology. I'm not sure what it is. But
That's a good point.
But we need to find a niche for ourselves and
Absolutely.
really work at that and focus on
Absolutely.
that.
You know,
And
Ivar, I'm sure you have the same issue that I have. Whenever I go out and talk to neighborhood groups, talk to neighbors, go to my son's lacrosse and soccer games, they always say the same thing. I want to shop in my own city.
Right.
I want to shop in New Rochelle. So retail to me is still the number one issue. We're winding down. Last question, future retail opportunities downtown New Rochelle.
It's tough. I think we should ultimately be able to get a major retailer to move into the New Rock complex. I think that is possible, and I think eventually we will be able to do that. I think that's one thing. Another thing is to kind of develop the downtown into more of a friendly walking downtown where we can invite those kinds of businesses that are appropriate in that kind of environment, and restaurants and things, so that people will drive to a central location of the downtown, get out of their car, walk around, do a little bit of shopping, go to a restaurant. That kind of feeling is what I think the heart of the downtown really needs to be. Library Green is kind of the focal point of that. And I think with the new owners of the what used to be the Avalon buildings having more interest in their retail space, which the Avalon people never particularly paid any attention to, the new owners seem to be much more interested. I'm hopeful that we will fill those with new shops. There are other possibilities. I mean, I think that we need to be much more aggressive in reaching out to interesting, younger kinds of businesses like you find in areas of the city, like Williamsburg and other places like
internet,
that.
social
There's
media,
all kinds
that
of
kind of
things that are going on.
Sure.
That I don't see why we can't do that in New Rochelle, and use the arts as a hook also to bring people. We have 2 artist spaces buildings now that we've developed. They're full. We have a lot of other arts-related things going on, and the arts creates business, brings people, brings artists, brings community, brings all of these kinds of things, and all of this will help to develop our downtown. But there's tons of other stuff.
Well, that's our final
You and
word.
I can talk
We're
about.
winding down. Yeah, let's have a. We talked about having a lunch. We'll do that soon.
Absolutely.
Talk about downtown issues.
Absolutely.
Councilman Ivar Hyden, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're on the council, advocating for the downtown as both a business person and a councilman. And keep up the good work. My office in Westchester County is always open to you.
Thank you.
Whenever you need any help for your constituents. And let's keep working together in the years to come, because there's still a lot of good things we can do for the city of New Rochelle.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jim, and thanks for having me here today.
It was great to have you.
Thanks.
And everyone, thanks for tuning in and watching the show today. And come back for our next show, and let's keep working together and make New Rochelle the best city it could be. I'm Westchester County Legislator Jim Maisano. If you need me, call me at 914-636-1621. Bye-bye now.